Hi everyone, welcome back to another Make It Meaningful. I'm Garden Girl Jen Gallagher. So have you been watching the other videos and looking through the other Garden Girl projects this week? This week all of us have been concentrating on capturing life in your layouts. Now I don't know if you use a cell phone or your Instagram photos or you're pulling things off Pinterest. There's a million different ways to capture life in your scrapbooks, but I want to talk about something unique. So not everyone has access to children photos, whether you don't have children or they are grown or you're a grandmother, and maybe you look at this topic this month and you think, I just am not relating to this topic. I want to talk about different ways that you can use the same topic for however it fits you. So my children are 17 and my son is turning 11 on Sunday, and they're kind of at the point where they're not home very much. They're at school and they're off on activities and they really don't want stalker mom following them around at some of their activities. And so I had to get creative about how I include children and things in my memory books and my scrapbooks. And so I have started becoming the resident photographer for my nieces and nephews when they come over. They're getting just as used to having a camera shoved in their face as my kids are, poor things. But I love capturing them on film, and I have a niece that doesn't live in the same state that I do, and when she and her brother come to visit, it is just very precious and tender time for me. And so poor little things, I follow them around with my camera, but I really just want to capture every little moment because they just grow so fast, and because we don't get to see them very often and I miss them terribly, I'm trying to capture them on film. So this week's layout, I'm going to use one about my niece Amelia, who I adore and miss terribly, and I miss her brother Zach as well. But I just wanted to show her that I love her and that I think of her constantly. So if you don't have children in your family, or you're in a situation where they're grown, or whatever the situation may be, you were a child once. So you can definitely use this theme this month. You may have nieces and nephews. You may have friends who have children that you're attached to, who call you auntie, or just you have a relationship with. Maybe you work with children and you're a teacher. But there are a lot of different ways that you can take the theme this month and use it on your scrapbooks. So let's go ahead and make a layout for my niece Amelia. So here's the photo I'm going to use of Amelia. I added a little bit of a filter to it so it's a little bit rich and a little bit vintage. I'm going to be using some pattern paper from Crepe Paper and some pattern paper from Echo Park Paper. And if for some reason I mispronounce or say the wrong paper, I do always list the supplies on the Seed on 2P, so be sure to check it out there. To the bottom of this word definition paper from the Splendid Sunshine collection, I have some more Splendid Sunshine that I have cut into a scallop shape. And you can do that with a scallop border punch or some scallop scissors. And I'm just using scallop scissors. Place this towards the bottom. At the top of this definition paper, I've taken just a half doily. It was actually a leftover from a project that I had been working on that I just wanted to add because I thought it was kind of girly. And then Crepe Paper has these great tags, and they come on a sheet of 12 by 12 pattern paper. And what I've done is I fussy cut around each individual tag, and then I punched a hole through the top and added twine. And it has gobs and gobs of tags, so you'll have plenty to do whatever you want on your projects. Just go ahead and add these to the layout in kind of a overlapping vignette. Sometimes when I'm creating a layout and I haven't quite put away projects that I've previously created, then I will use the items that I already had on my page. Then I'll go ahead and add the photo. This is almost a 5 by 7 inch photo because I wanted a slightly larger photo for this particular project. Square that up with a pattern paper. And then to the top right corner, I have cut from the Bella Boulevard sticker sheet, alpha sticker sheet. I picked this teal green photo corner because it matched the pattern paper I'm using in the background here. And then across the bottom here from the Splendid Sunshine letter sticker, again, make sure you refer to 2P so you can get all of the supplies listed here. I'm going to add a border strip sticker right across the bottom of the photo. And then below that, I'm going to take a die cut from Heidi Swap, and this one is glittered. You could make your own by die cutting one, or you could use stickers. A lot of sticker sheets have pennants, and you could cut one with your silhouette machine as well. And then if you wanted it glittered up, you could just add your favorite glitter to it. And we'll slightly place this right below. And then over the top of that, I'm going to take some decorative tape, some washi tape. Just rip off a long piece in a darker pink. Again, it is another diagonal to just kind of layer a little bit. And then to this top tag, I'm going to take some yellow ribbon. It's a gross grain ribbon, and I'm going to wrap it around the tag. So I've trimmed it a little bit so that it has, let's try not to cover up the bird too much, but it has already been cut into a pinked edge, and we'll just wrap that around the back. And again, I just used a dot runner to do that. That is a simple thing that you can do. Now, a lot of companies have die cuts that match their sticker sheets and their sticker elements, and Echo Park Paper is one of those companies that does that. And I picked the Splendid Sunshine flower. It's a nice flower, and I cut one with my Silhouette Cameo from the pattern paper. This is actually cut from their 6x6 paper pad so that it gave me a slightly smaller pattern. And this one is cut from just a pink cardstock. And then I've poked a hole, as you can see, through both, and I'm going to use a brad, just any yellow brad, to bring in some of that yellow. And then to give it a little bit more dimension, you can fold up the flowers. And when you're doing a project like this, I actually used this flower on another project that I did, and you can cut multiples of these and then store them, just like you would any other embellishment, because then you can use them later. And I'm going to just use a glue dot to hold that down. But one way to do this is, once you start creating, is go and look at the Silhouette store and see if there are matching die cuts that will help you tell the story a little bit more. Then I'm going to add just a few enamel dots to the project. Bring some more of that yellow in. And for the title, I want to show you something fun. What you're going to need is, in the last video, I used some chipboard letters. You're going to need chipboard letters. You're going to need some Versamark ink pad. And then you're going to need an embossing color in whatever you want. And we're going to alter the color of these chipboard alphas by embossing them. And I'm just going to show you one, and then I'll adhere all of them. So what you'll need is, you will need a sheet of paper, just scratch paper. Then you'll have your sticker, or rather your chipboard alphabet. And this Versamark ink pad has been through better days, so please excuse how well loved it has been. But simply press the letter into the ink pad. There are also Versamark ink pens that you can do this same technique with, but you want to get it nice and juicy. And then you're going to pour the embossing powder directly on top of that. And then very carefully pick it up and try not to touch the top surface. And then I just tap off the extra. You can see what it looks like. Again, try not to touch the top. And then we'll want to pour all of that excess powder right back into my container, so you don't waste any. And go ahead and close that lid off, because once we start embossing this, it is going to throw the powder all over the place. Then I take another sheet of scratch paper, and I dump off that little letter. And then you're going to need a heat embossing tool. And I'm going to get in a little closer so you can see this. So right now it's just kind of a loose powder. I'm going to use my heat embossing gun, and I'm going to gently move it around. And as I do that, it is going to kind of create a shimmer with that embossing powder. Now you're going to need some way to hold down your letter. Because this letter has an opening, I'm simply going to place this pencil inside of it, and then I can go around it and emboss it like that. So I apologize, it does get a little noisy. Make sure that you don't burn yourself when you use the heat gun. can see it's starting to turn a slightly different color. You want to let it cool because it will be hot. Once it has cooled, you're going to get this great, nice shimmer on it. So let's go ahead and do this to all of the letters. You can also mix and match, and you could do a pink and a yellow. You could do multiple colors. You could do them all the colors of the rainbow, but you just need a good embossing powder. And they do come in different finishes. The silver or gold would be nice as well. So let's go ahead and place these on our layout. So you can see that I did some of the letters in the glossy yellow, and some of them are in this great rich color from American Crafts called Aqua. And I'm just going to attach them with some glue dots. And I want them to come across the layout and slightly overlap the photo. And you can see that I've kind of temporarily placed them where I want them to be. So that gives me a good way to eyeball it when I place it permanently on my layout. So you don't need to put glue dots on every part of the letter, just enough that it holds it in place. I like the unexpected pop of teal. And I've noticed that different colors for some reason give you slightly different results. So the yellow was a little bit mottled, and the aqua was just a nice creamy smooth finish. And that could have somewhat to do with how much Versamark ink I got on them, and it might have to do with the actual just embossing powder. So depending on your embossing powder, if you're concerned about trying this technique, then start with a letter, maybe like a Q or something that you're not going to use. So I have some buttons tied with twine that I want to add to the bottom of the layout. One large and one small. And then from the sticker sheet, you can see that I've used it on some other projects. I'm going to take this Lazy and Carefree sticker and stick it down here at the bottom. And then this wonderful tab sticker I'm going to use as a side tab to the layout. Then I'm going to use some Jelly Bean Soup Alpha Beans. This is in their Tart Teal, and I'm going to do a secondary title because these are smaller. Bring a little bit more of that teal aqua color from the tag and that background paper. And I'm going to use the space between the A and the E because I used capital letters. And no, she doesn't spell her name with a lot of caps. It's just a fun way to create a more visually interesting title. Get these all squared away. You can see how perfectly that fits between the A and the E. So I tried to pick a word that would fit in between those two spaces. So for the next part of the card, I'm going to use some of the rest of the pattern paper that I was talking about before, the 12 by 12 pattern paper. This is some of the smaller tags, and this is one of the yellow ones. Again, you can see I've punched out the hole, and I've added some twine to the top to make it look like an authentic tag. And a great way to stretch your supplies is to purchase 12 by 12 pattern paper that has this kind of effect that you can then fussy cut. To the bottom, I just have some ephemera that I've left over from other projects. These are 3 tickets. There are stamp sets that do this, or you could die cut these. They're in a light craft, and over the top of them, I'm going to add the journaling, and it's just a fun way to kind of ground the journaling. The journaling is done in 2 thin paper strips, and we'll just, again, layer it right on top of the tickets. And it just gives it a little more presence than if I had just done the journaling as strips. It helps fill up some of that bottom space on the layout. So here's how it looks layered. Then to bring in some more of this dark craft, I have 2 little die cut leaves. And these were manually die cut, but again, you could die cut them from anything. I'm just going to use a scratch sheet of paper. And I have used both 12 by 12 pattern paper on here and 6 by 6. I like to have 6 by 6 for smaller projects like die cutting, and the 12 by 12 is great for backgrounds and things. So I usually buy a few of the 12 by 12 that I like, and then I'll get the 6 by 6 if I like a lot of the patterns, but I don't see myself using all of the 12 by 12 sheets. I'll just layer these. And then finally at the very bottom, I'm going to use one final sticker from the Splendid Sunshine sticker sheet. And on the back, I do have adhesive foam dots. And I wanted to use foam dots to just give it some more dimension. And I wanted to bring in some of this kind of darker teal to the bottom of the layout. So there you have a layout that shows you how you can make it meaningful by using a photo that's maybe not about your own children. It can be about you, it can be about your friends' children, your nieces and nephews, but there's no reason why you can't do layouts about children if you have people that you care about in your life or you have your own photos to work with. So thank you for joining me for today's Make It Meaningful video. Be sure to subscribe to the 2Ps YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of the Garden Girl videos, and watch for my series each Friday.